ما يشبني شيء.
Good afternoon. You're watching the English newscast on Future Television. Israeli units have patrolled the border with Lebanon and carried out a military exercise in the Sheba farms. Sources say Israeli vehicles were seen moving near the Lebanese border in the occupied farms, while residents of Kfar Shuba say they heard loud explosions and a jet hovering around dawn. However, UNIFIL and Lebanese army troops observed the Israeli movements that another security force described as just another routine patrolling operation. Israeli media says the Jewish state's army was mobilizing along the northern border after the recent escalation in the Golan Heights. On Sunday, Israeli jets targeted militants allegedly carrying a bomb intended to target Israeli troops. AFP says 4 people were killed in the attack, which took place near the town of Majd al-Shams. Israel says it carried out the strike after troops saw a group of armed terrorists approach the border with an explosive intended to target Israeli troops. It said that Israeli aircraft targeted the squad, preventing the attack. It did not offer any casualty figure for the strike, while a security source told AFP that 4 people were killed in the attack. Health Minister Wael Abu Faoud has announced that the Unified Medical Health Minister Wael Abu Faoud has announced that the Unified Medical Prescription Form will go into effect on June 1st, saying a contract had already been signed with a printing company to create 300,000 books of Unified Prescription Forms. Abu Faoud reiterated that as of June 1st, the Unified Prescription Form will be the only valid form available, and it will no longer be possible to accept any other prescriptions. On March 10, Parliament passed legislation requiring patients, pharmacists and healthcare providers to use the Unified Prescription Forms, which will include the names of the doctors and their telephone and registration numbers. The new prescriptions will allow pharmacists to swap prescribed brand name medicines for their cheaper generic counterparts and has been championed by the health minister as means to allow their drugs to gain larger share of the markets and to curb the sales of restricted medication being sold without prescription forms. And now we have to go on a break. Sudan's election commission says President Omar al-Bashir has won re-election with 94% of the vote, extending his 25-year rule despite war crimes charges and domestic rebellions. The election commission put turnout at 46.4% and denied widespread reports of low participation. The 4-day vote began on April 13th. Nearly 13 million people were registered to vote at nearly 11,000 polling centers. The polling stations in the capital, Khartoum, were largely deserted. Bashir, who took power in a bloodless coup in 1989, is the only sitting head of state facing genocide charges at the International Criminal Court. The charges stem from the conflict in the Darfur region. Saudi-led warplanes have hit anti-government forces in South Yemen, killing at least 12 Shiite Houthi insurgents and allied forces, as fighting continued across several provinces. Reports say coalition aircraft pounded 5 schools converted by rebels into military bases in Atak, the capital of Abyan province. Also in Abyan, warplanes targeted rebel positions on the outskirts of Lodar, the province's second largest city. Fierce fighting also raged in the central city of Taiz, with the warring parties using tanks and rocket-propelled grenades inside residential areas. Medics say at least 16 civilians were killed in Taiz on Sunday as coalition warplanes hit rebel positions east of the city overnight. Rescue efforts have intensified in Nepal amid a stream of foreign aid reaching the capital, Kathmandu, in the wake of the devastating earthquake that has claimed more than 3,700 lives and injured up to 6,500 others. Police say the death toll may go further up as rescuers are struggling to reach remote regions in the mountainous country of 28 million people and as bodies buried under rubble are recovered. The first nations to respond were Nepal's neighbors India, China and Pakistan. all of which have been jockeying for influence over the landlocked nation. A wall of snow is seen flattening part of Mount Everest's base camp during an avalanche triggered by Nepal's worst earthquake in decades. Dramatic footage showing the avalanche was posted on YouTube a day after the magnitude 7.8 quake hit Nepal. The footage posted by a German climber shows a group of climbers at the camp. They appeared relaxed as the ground started shaking, but the mood swiftly turned to panic as they realized a wall of snow, rock and ice was headed straight towards them. After the avalanche hit, the dazed and confused climbers emerged and began to look for other survivors in flattened tents amid chaos. Michael Shurton, a documentary filmmaker from New York, considers himself lucky that he managed to survive the massive earthquake and avalanche.
Big ice shelf, and it must have just released. We saw it hit, it kind of hits one level, and then it just shot right back up. And then I saw, so I told the group to get down. It was like 4,000 feet of snow just kind of coming, and there's nowhere to run. So I told everybody to get down, and then I put my hands over my head and just buried myself as much as I could. And basically the snow hit. It was about 45 seconds or a minute for it to go by. Everything was gone. All our tents were gone. And then people were pushed. Like a guy who stood in front of me was now 30 feet over there. And we're missing one person that we don't know if she's alive or dead. I think what happened is it was either the blast of the snow or maybe one of the kilo things that you use for kerosene for heat. Something blasted me then into the rock, and that's what hit my face. So I think we were fortunate because the climbers, the four of us that were there, were not climbers, and so the climbers had already gone up to Camp 1 or the Camp 2. They were at one of them, and apparently there was no damage up there. They didn't even know there was an earthquake. I'm not sure, and so they were safe up there. Had there been another 19 people just hanging out, milling around, it could have been a lot worse.
Australia has called for an urgent investigation into reports alleging 2 Australian drug traffickers were sentenced to death in an Indonesian trial tainted by corruption. Foreign Minister Julie Bishop called on Indonesia to investigate the allegations before anyone is executed. But Indonesia's foreign ministry says Australia needed to show proof before an investigation can take place into the trial or sentencing of both citizens.
Well, these allegations are very serious. They call into question the integrity of the sentencing process. And it's a matter for Indonesia's Judicial Commission to investigate these matters, and that underlines why we continue to request Indonesia to allow the Judicial Commission to finalise its review. This must be allowed to continue before any action is taken to prepare for executions. An execution is an irrevocable step, and I believe that these hearings and these legal processes should be concluded before any decision is taken. Again, I respectfully call on President Widodo to reconsider his refusal to grant clemency. It is not too late for a change of heart. We ask no more of Indonesia than Indonesia asks of other countries in relation to its nationals who are on death row in other countries, including for drug offences. On behalf of the Australian Government, I express our deepest condolences to the Government of Nepal and the families who have lost loved ones in the aftermath of the earthquake in Nepal, India and Bangladesh. We are deeply saddened by the images that are coming from Nepal, and we will continue to work with Nepalese authorities in whatever way we can. We have been able to confirm the safety of more than 850 Australians in the country. I do hold grave fears for the welfare of one Australian who was known to be at the Mount Everest base camp where a number of deaths have occurred. We are currently working to confirm this person's identity.
A refugee camp is leading the way for eco-friendly electricity in Lebanon. At the youth center in Beirut's Shatila camp, solar panels have been installed to provide an alternative power source. The first panels were fitted to the Palestinian Youth Center last August, thanks to funding from UNESCO. Volunteers from NGO Engineers Without Borders are connecting more panels to the center's electricity system. 8 have been fitted so far, and it's hoped 16 will be added in the future. Shatila is a refugee camp established in 1949 to take in Palestinians who fled their homes during the war surrounding the creation of Israel. 20,000 residents live here now, and electricity shortages are one of the problems they face. The Ministry of Energy and Water wants to do more to combat daily power cuts and wants to feed solar energy into the country's power grid. The Phoenix Energy Company has been awarded a $3 million government grant to help that plan and has already installed rows of solar panels over the Beirut River. Hollywood actress Salma Hayek has met with journalists ahead of the Middle Eastern premiere of Khalil Gibran's The Prophet in Beirut. The actress, who co-produced the animated feature, says she hopes the film will help spread Gibran's message. The actress also said that she was pretty much inspired by Khalil Gibran, who influenced her grandfather very much during his life.
I got to have my grandfather teaching me about life, and so it's a very personal movie for me.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Thank you so much for watching us today, and we apologize for the technical difficulties.
ما شفنا شيء.